You walk through the city and everything burns. The email that never arrives, the love that doesn't return, the plan that collapses, the rain that insists. Today, you don't fight. Today you release the rope that was burning your hands, you watch the wave come, you let it pass, and you discover that the water holds you. You learn to see pain without becoming it, to receive what hurts without enlarging it, to act where it makes sense, and to bow your head where nothing can be moved. That is the map. Recognize suffering, see its cause, make space, cultivate a heart that is both even and steady, and walk with an attention that doesn't negotiate. In the end, you don't surrender. You align. And the city, just as noisy, stops ruling you. Why is this true? Because resisting what doesn't depend on you multiplies pain, because everything changes, and clinging is like trying to stitch the wind, because the heart, trained, can host storms without becoming a storm, because control, out there, is small, and the real governance happens inside. When you learn to accept, you don't dim out. You recover your strength for the battles that do matter. The city is a drum beating your pulse. On the corner, a traffic light takes longer than your urgency tolerates. In the chat, the answer doesn't come. At home, a diagnosis, a move, a word that cannot be taken back. The common enemy is called resistance. That knot in the chest that repeats, "It shouldn't be like this." It's the clenched fist trying to hold the river. But rivers aren't held. They are crossed. Think of 3 truths as 3 bells behind the noise. First, everything changes. The cup cools, the body grows and decays, relationships turn, the market rises and falls. Nothing stands still. Second, pain appears when you ask the world not to change, when you demand the wave to be a stone. Third, there is no rigid self that can dominate everything. What you call me is a whirl of habits, memories, impulses. Discovery. If the self is wider and less solid, it can house frustration without breaking. This is not resignation, it is intelligence. It says, "This now is not in my hands, I'll take care of what is." Acceptance is not lowering your arms, it is choosing where to place them. Imagine you wear a lamp on your forehead. The first practice is to turn it on, attention to the breath. 1 minute. Inhale, exhale, name it softly. Inhaling, exhaling. The mind will try to negotiate, but what if you answer with an ancient gesture? You return to air. Air doesn't debate. Air returns. Then the body, a scan from crown to soles. Where is the knot, the throat, the stomach? Don't flee, bring the lamp closer. You notice heat, tension, pulses. You let it be. Allowing is not approving. Allowing says, "You're already here, I see you." What is seen without judgment transforms. Now the mind. Thoughts arrive like buses at a terminal. You don't board them all. Labels, worry, memory, fantasy. You write the name on the bus's forehead and let it go. If a bus captures you, you notice and smile. That smile is deep practice. It disarms the inner critic, that guard who believes punishing you will make you free. One day, someone hurts you. Impulse demands a verdict. Guilty. Here, equanimity is a bridge that doesn't burn. Equanimity isn't indifference. It's a controlled fire. You can feel injustice and at the same time remember that people act from their causes, their pain, their clumsiness. Equanimity is seeing the whole board, not just the piece that struck you. There's a story. A man hurls insults with fury, and the sage asks, if someone offers you a gift that you don't accept, whose is the gift? The insult is a package you can choose not to open. Accepting what you cannot change is sometimes not accepting packages that don't belong to you. Bring compassion to the table, not as an idea, but as a muscle. Repeat, not sounding holy, just human. May I be well. May I be at peace. May I accept this moment as it is. Then, widen the circle. May you be well. May you be at peace. May you accept this moment as it is. Compassion is a tool for inner action. It unravels knots that logic can't. There are pains that don't negotiate. A loss, an illness, the end of something you loved. Acceptance here is not quick. It is seasonal. Sometimes it arrives in waves. One day you think you've reached shore, and the next you're back at the bottom. Don't judge yourself for that. The sea teaches patience. The tide comes and goes without asking anyone's permission. Another story. A mother loses her child and seeks someone who can bring him back. She's asked for a mustard seed from a house where nobody has ever suffered a loss. She goes door to door and understands there is no house without grief. The seed she brings back doesn't resurrect, but it opens the truth. She's not alone. That understanding doesn't cure the pain, but it cures the loneliness of pain. Acceptance is, often, that silent company. The mind says to accept is to give up. You answer with an antithesis. Acceptance gives you back your strength. While you push a wall that doesn't move, you cannot move the chair that can. When you leave the wall, you place the chair, open the window, and air enters. The act is not minor, it is exact. The city offers its own practice. In transport, you choose an object as anchor. The vibration of the floor under your feet, the weight of the backpack, the sensation of air in the nose. Each time the mind jumps, you return to the anchor, like someone holding a balloon so it doesn't get lost. At work, you set micro-rituals. Before sending a hard email, 3 conscious breaths. Before replying to an aggressive message, a 1-beat pause. The pause doesn't delay, it refines. Let's speak of karma, not as superstition, but as the law of habit. Your acts today are seeds. Some will sprout in minutes, others in seasons you won't see. Accepting what you cannot change is, also, planting what you can. You don't control the weather, but you choose which seeds to carry in your pocket. Plant presence, plant patience, plant honesty. You harvest fewer inner storms when the outside thunders. Bring on stage the 3 poisons: greed, aversion, ignorance. To accept, neutralize their chemistry. Against greed, gratitude, seeing what is already present with new eyes. Against aversion, physical softness, loosen the jaw, release the shoulders, soften the belly. Against ignorance, curiosity, what is truly happening now? Curiosity is a door without violence, a method for critical moments. Recognize, allow, investigate, non-identify. You recognize there is frustration. You allow this belongs to the landscape of now. You investigate, where do I feel it? What story feeds it? What does it need? You don't identify. You don't say, I am frustration. You say, there is frustration. By separating being from state, you return home. The enemy disguises itself as total control, but no one directs the world's traffic. You can, yes, direct the traffic of your attention, and that is sovereignty. From there, an ethic is born. Right speech, right effort, stable concentration. Not right as moralistic, but as tuned, like a finger that tunes a string until it rings clean. Sometimes, accepting what you cannot change is to stop playing a broken string. Acceptance also speaks of boundaries. To say no when body and dignity ask for it. Acceptance doesn't make you a doormat. It gives you a spine. If the situation is harmful and you can step away, stepping away is part of the practice. If you cannot, the practice is to protect your interior like a flame in the night. Peace is not naivete, it is loving strategy. Comparisons that illuminate. Tao says the rigid branch breaks and the flexible one survives. The Christian tradition speaks of surrender as active trust. In the Sufi path, the dance doesn't fight the music, it becomes music. All point to the same. You are not less when you stop fighting, you are more exact. One day you lose a job, panic arises. The mind runs 3 marathons in a minute. You practice, anchor the breath, name sensations, write on paper everything that does depend on you. Update, call, learn, organize finances, ask for help. You accept what you don't control, the decision already made. That acceptance, far from numbing, makes you operational. Without acceptance, noise consumes you. With it, you work with what is. Another day, the doctor pronounces a word that changes the color of your calendar. Acceptance isn't to painting smiles. It is making space for tears without adding, "This shouldn't happen to me." You allow sadness, seek support, follow instructions, do your part. You accept that the body is a precious loan. You care for the loan with reverence. Reverence is another face of acceptance. In relationships, sometimes we love imaginary versions. Acceptance is seeing the other as they are, not as they would be in a catalogue of promises. If love needs impossible conditions, release them. If the bond stands on mistreatment, stepping aside is acceptance of your value. If it can grow, acceptance is fertilizer. Less theatrical demand, more real presence. Not everything must be said. Sometimes practice is the silence that doesn't flee, but cares. Other times, practice is the frank word that doesn't wound, but doesn't tremble. Acceptance is an applied art. It shows in how you enter a room, how you look, how you hold a cup. For dense days, a minimal ritual. Upon waking, hand on heart, a phrase. Today I will make space. At midday, 3 long breaths. At nightfall, a gratitude inventory, 3 small things. Don't negotiate with the minimum. The minimum opens doors. Obstacles will arrive, impatience, cynicism, self-demand. To each, a response. To impatience, the flower doesn't bloom by shouting. To cynicism, this isn't weakness, it's training. To self-demand, without tenderness, there's no discipline that lasts. Make yourself your ally. Acceptance begins with that pact. Imagine a spiral. You don't return to the same place. You return to a similar point, but higher or deeper. Each time life brings the same kind of frustration, you don't repeat. You refine. The spiral is the gesture of one who learns. There is a secret power. Humor. Not sarcasm that hurts. Humor that lightens. When life leaves you waiting in a line that turns slowly, smile to the side. Here is my rolling monastery. Gentle laughter is a bow to the mystery of being alive. The body is an ally. Moving helps release what the mind grips. Walk 1 block without your phone. Feel the pressure of the heel, then the ball of the foot, then the toes. Observe gravity playing with your skeleton. Your house is this body. Clean it with movement, feed it with rest. Acceptance and purpose do not contradict each other. You accept the wind and choose the sail. Direction is decided in silence. If your purpose stumbles upon something unmovable, you adjust the route without insulting the cliff. You don't fight the rock, you learn to skirt it. Sometimes the obstacle is invisible. The idea that you need another moment to be at peace. Practice reminds you, this very moment with its noises, its pending items, its cracks, is fertile ground. Peace is not a prize for tomorrow, it is a craft of now. Another teaching comes, the 2 arrows. The first arrow is inevitable pain, the second is the rejection, the story the mind adds. You cannot always avoid the first, but you can drop the second. Acceptance is lowering the bow that shoots extra arrows. Another story. A master pours tea until the cup overflows. The visitor protests. The master responds, "How can I show you anything if your cup is full?" Accepting what you cannot change requires emptying the cup a little, letting something new in. And one more. Hakuin, unjustly accused of being a father, replies only, "Oh, really?" He raises the child without bitterness. Years later, the truth is revealed, and the child returns to the mother. Hakuin says again, "Oh, really?" That phrase is not apathy. It is a heart that refuses to chain itself to the swing of approval and blame. Patience, called the perfection of patience, is the column of this house. It isn't gritting your teeth, it's understanding the rhythm of things. A tree doesn't ask winter to bloom. Patience is temporal intelligence, knowing what season you are in. Bring into your life the practice of taking and giving. When the weight of the inevitable grows thick, imagine you inhale the density of your pain and that of others suffering something similar, and you exhale relief, clarity, a hand on the shoulder. It isn't literal magic, it's emotional alchemy. One who accepts shares warmth. Distinguish between the area of control, the area of influence, and the area of contemplation. Control what you do now with your body and your word. Influence what you can shape with consistency, like habits or relationships. Contemplation what exceeds your hand, like rain, the past, other people's decisions. Accepting the immutable frees strength for the malleable. Beware of the mind's mischief, confusing acceptance with normalizing harm. Accepting a fact doesn't mean approving an injustice. If something is unjust and you can act, acceptance gives you clarity to do it precisely and without hatred. There are battles that deserve your fire. Acceptance prevents you from spending it on ghosts. Observe the ordinary day. Notifications ring. Before opening a breath, you read an aggressive line. You recognize the first arrow, it hurt. The second arrow wants to fly. They always treat me this way. You name it. Drama under construction. You don't board. If you must respond, do so from the spine, not from the spasm. Accepting the blow is not offering the other cheek to abuse. It is not giving away your center. Bring a memory closer. The mind proposes a what if about something that already happened. You cannot rewrite the scene. Accepting the past is allowing it to teach you without hurting you again with its echo. Writing the lesson on paper helps. From that I learned this. You close the notebook, you return to today. A brief mantra helps at high tide. This is how it is now. You don't justify, you don't decorate, you name reality. Then you ask, what is the wisest gesture available? Sometimes it will be to drink water, sometimes to apologize, sometimes a nap, sometimes resolved action. Also accept your humanity. You won't be equanimous every day. There will be clumsiness, there will be reactions. Training isn't measured by the absence of waves, but by the speed with which you return to shore. Celebrating a return sustains the practice. Notice the old age that peaks in a white hair. The mind wants to hide it, as if denying time would stop the tide. Accepting age doesn't steal beauty, it changes it. A wrinkling forehead can become a map, and a well-read map keeps you from getting lost. In the dealings of the world, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. One who accepts doesn't flip the table when they lose. They settle accounts, learn, continue. The ego shouts all or nothing. Acceptance answers step by step. And step by step builds more than any fit of rage. Bring an example. You present a project and it's rejected. You recognize the stab. You breathe. You accept the no. You inquire without insulting yourself. What was missing? What was too much? What can I improve? If you decide to insist, you do it with information, not rancor. If you decide to pivot, it isn't escape, it's tactical wisdom. Also accept the temporary disconnection with those you love. Effective tides have rhythms. Don't force conversations. Send clear signals of presence. Leave spaces for a return. Where there is no respect, mark boundaries. Where there is possibility, fertilize with patience. There is a powerful practice. Stop 3 times a day to listen to far and near sounds. Far, like sirens or engines. Near, like your breathing. This trains the mind to recognize what is without wanting to control it. It's preparation to accept what arrives when you least expect it. Pride presents as armor, but it's heavy. Accepting a timely correction saves you wars. It is not kneeling, it is learning. One who accepts learning becomes dangerous to their own ignorance. Remember the 3 marks of existence: impermanence, dissatisfaction, and non-self. They are not dogmas, they are lenses. With them, What seemed like catastrophe becomes change. What seemed like a personal offense becomes cause and condition. What seemed an ego affair becomes a dance of forces. These lenses don't blur you. They fine-tune you. When everything becomes too much, return to the small, a glass of water, a slow shower, bare feet on the floor for a moment. Acceptance lives in the concrete. The spirit trains in simple things. There are days when you feel you accept nothing. Don't turn that into identity. Name it as weather. Today it's cloudy. Even cloudy, you can sweep a room, answer with courtesy, look out the window and recognize a bird. Sometimes that minimal gesture opens cracks where light enters. On the social board, there are injustices you cannot ignore. Accepting that they exist is the first step to act with lucidity. If your voice can add it. If your body can help. If your vote can tilt. Acceptance doesn't turn off the compass, it calibrates it. Envy is resistance in disguise. I should have what the other has. Accepting your point on the path reduces the poison. Appreciate the route of others as landscape, not as sentence, and use comparison only as a brief mirror for inspiration, not as a whip. Attend to your informational diet. Consuming only news that inflame without letting you act is an invitation to helplessness. Accept that the world is larger than your reach and choose channels that inform without paralyzing you. Less noise, more clarity. Another practice. At the end of the day, review 3 scenes in which you accepted something without drama. It can be minimal, waiting without watching the clock, washing a dish without complaining, dropping an argument. That inventory trains the brain to notice your own strength. Also accept the cycles of energy. You are not a machine. There will be days of fierce advance and others of withdrawal. Forcing yourself to always be in maximum mode is resistance to life itself. Resting isn't giving up, it's honoring the instrument. In the economy of the soul, saving resentments is costly. Acceptance invites you to forgive, not as magic absolution, but as the decision not to carry embers. If you must step away from someone, let it be without hatred. Hatred ties, acceptance cuts knots. There's an ancient image, a bamboo bending under snow. It doesn't break, it bows. When the weight yields, it returns. You can also learn to bend without breaking. The secret is not to make pride your spine. Your real spine is deeper, attention, equanimity, compassion. If you live in the city, there is noise. Accepting it doesn't mean loving it. It means not giving it the helm. Use headphones for music that softens. Choose routes with trees. Look at the sky between buildings. Adjusting the setting with small gestures is part of the practice. Accept periods when meditation turns rough. Don't seek extraordinary experiences. The extraordinary is sitting again, even when the mind offers 1,000 distractions. Gentle discipline is the gold of this path. If you share a home, practice accepting others' rhythms. Don't control every detail. Clear agreements, firm boundaries, and then space. Co-living becomes a training field for the heart that wants to impose its script. Loosening the script relieves everyone. When guilt knocks, ask yourself, is it precise guilt or a habit of blaming myself? Accepting the concrete mistake is healthy. Accepting vague guilt is another form of inner mistreatment. If you can repair, repair. If not, learn and release. There are discrete obstacles: perfectionism, haste, dramatization. Perfectionism fears judgment. Haste fears not arriving. Dramatization fears going unnoticed. Accepting your rhythm, your imperfect work, and your silence makes you more real. In the spiritual, avoid the trap of wanting to accept perfectly. Turning acceptance into a rigid goal creates new resistance. Accept even the non-acceptance. With humor, with patience. Practice becomes like training a puppy. Firmness and tenderness. Hold this image, a dark room where a thread of light enters. You don't push the darkness out, you open the window. Acceptance is that window. Darkness isn't fought, it's aired. When you lose someone, the world seems to continue just the same, and that indifference hurts. Acceptance doesn't erase grief, but it allows you to walk with it without it eating your feet. There are days when the weight multiplies. On that day, all reduces to this gesture. Sit, place your hand on your heart, say the name in silence, give thanks for what was. It's a small act with infinite dignity. If you have children or care for someone, accepting their processes is love in action, not molding every trait but accompanying, setting boundaries and at the same time allowing reasonable falls. Love that accepts educates without crushing. In creativity, acceptance becomes method, accepting the block as part of the craft, accepting that an idea needs rest, accepting that publishing something imperfect opens doors that eternal waiting closes. Bring a proverb: if you push a river, you get tired. If you learn its course, you navigate. Acceptance is knowing the course, and there is no course without curves. Return to ritual. When you close your door, don't close your heart. Leave a light on inside, the certainty that you can inhabit whatever comes. Fear knocks, you let it pass. You don't invite it to dinner. Money brings its own ghosts. Accepting your current degree of abundance saves you from consolation purchases or needless guilt. Planning from present reality is more productive than planning from fantasy. Acceptance is the first number of any serious budget. At work, accept that not everyone will see what you do. Don't expect constant applause. Do what corresponds, have the necessary conversations, protect your rest. Quiet dignity is a form of acceptance. Technology demands intelligent acceptance. You won't answer everything, know everything, be everywhere. Choose windows of connection and windows of silence. Attention is a sacred resource. Accept it and guard it. When someone asks your forgiveness, accepting their apology doesn't erase the past, but it can open a future. If you don't trust yet, say so without violence. Accepting your rhythm is respecting yourself. If you make a noisy mistake, accept the embarrassment. It's human. Laugh softly if you can. Apologize if it fits. Continue. The world isn't watching as much as you think. There are points of no return you won't undo. Accepting those milestones is maturity. Maturing isn't becoming serious. It's becoming clear. Also remember the joys you cannot control. A clear sky after many cloudy days, a song that appears on the radio, a kind look from a stranger. Accepting the immutable includes accepting grace when it arrives unannounced. Open your hand also to the good. Acceptance works in layers. The first is intellectual, understanding the idea. The second is emotional, allowing the feeling. The third is behavioral, acting from that clarity. Don't despair if the layers don't align at once. Intelligence walks down the stairs. If you catch yourself justifying aggressions in the name of acceptance, stop. Acceptance is not an alibi. It is clarity to set limits without hatred. Dignity is non-negotiable. In moments of anxiety, look at 5 things, touch 4, hear 3, smell 2, taste 1. It is the rope lowered into the well. Accepting anxiety as a visitor prevents it from becoming king. Gratitude has an edge. Thanking the small doesn't deny the big pain, it structures it. Accepting what you cannot change becomes easier when you remember what is present and well. If you practice with community, accept that not everyone will resonate the same. There will be differences. Use them to cultivate patience and honesty. Diversity teaches more than a unanimous chorus. One final image before closing the circle: a lighthouse on the coast. It doesn't argue with the storm, it cannot stop it, but it shines. Accepting the immutable is not turning off the light, it's keeping it lit precisely when it seems useless. And it isn't. Back to the beginning. The city burns. You breathe. Amid the noise, your attention's bell rings. You accept the email that didn't arrive, the return that didn't happen, the rain that insists. And you choose. You call who you must, you write what you can, you cover yourself from the water. You don't argue with the weather, you adjust the coat. With time, you'll notice signs. First, more space between stimulus and reaction. Second, less drama, more clarity. Third, more tenderness with yourself and others. This is what freedom looks like in the everyday. Fewer invisible chains, more availability for what matters. If something doesn't change, change your relationship with that something. That is the alchemy. From iron to gold, not by magic, but by practice. Each daily gesture is the laboratory. Washing a dish, listening without interrupting, saying no without guilt, saying yes without fear. When it hurts too much, remember, no state is permanent. Not this pain, not this confusion, not this night. The moon changes phases without asking anyone's permission. So do you. Acceptance doesn't erase tempestuous seas, but it gives you a lighthouse. Acceptance doesn't make you passive, it makes you deep. It doesn't take your voice, it tunes it. It doesn't make you less, it makes you exact. And when you are exact, you are free to love better, work better, rest better. The city stays the same, but you are not. Close your eyes for an instant. Tell yourself, this is what there is. This is enough to begin. Inhale, exhale. The rope stops burning. The wave passes. The water holds you. Share this teaching with whoever needs it, and subscribe to continue refining together the art of living awake in the city.